Hey guys, time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. Let me go ahead and jump right in here and talk about what Rafa did today. So on the beautiful Prarie Beige 57 Beetle, whoever did the chassis on this car, for some reason, I don't know if it was on purpose or not, they didn't actually install the jack points. So those of you that are familiar with these cars know there's a sort of square tube under the chassis about right here where I'm pointing that's made to jack the car up with the original style jack. For whatever reason, they were missing on this chassis, and the owner actually had bought some new jack points, and so we went ahead and put them on. The ideal time to put those on is when the chassis is built, but you can still do it when the car is assembled. You just have to basically drill holes in them and plug weld them, and then paint everything. So let's just show you what we did here. So there you go. I mean, anybody who wasn't looking super close would probably never notice that that wasn't installed, when the chassis and body were apart. But yeah, so Rafa went and installed these, welded them in, touched up the paint and so on. So of course, they look great, as you would expect. And there you go. So the other thing that he worked on today, most of the day, was this car had some incorrectly installed things going on in the back here. So the rear left and right backing plates were swapped left to right. And so what that did was that made the emergency brake cable, instead of coming in the back like it does on a oval window, it was actually kind of coming in through the front because they were switched left to right. And so the emergency brake cable was making this weird kind of S shape. I mean, it still seemed like it worked, but it wasn't really correct. We went ahead and checked with the owner, and he said, yes, please just make it right. So we did that. The other thing was the drums. The surface on them was pretty clean, but they had some pitting. I'm talking about the braking surface. So we went ahead and had those turned just to be thorough, and then reassembled everything with new seals and so on. That's a pretty big job. Those seals are a pain to get them leak-free. But yeah, so we got those all assembled back in. Everything's correct now. The hard brake lines were not really run correctly, so Rafa went and rebent those to have the right shape that they would have had from the factory. So those little details like that, trying to get them right. The owner, rightly so, wants this to be a really nice car, and it is a really nice car. But there's just some little details like that we're correcting for them to really put this thing over the top as far as being correct. So I think those were the main things that Rafa did today on this car. So why don't we go ahead and talk about what I did today. So on the twins here, I worked on the 59 today. And what I did was a couple things. One was I went ahead and installed I don't know if you can even see it here. There's supposed to be a mesh behind the vent here, the grill. And so I went ahead and installed that. It's looking nice and factory, just like it should. The other thing was, which is really a pain on these, is I went ahead and formed all of the hard brake lines. So let's go ahead and crawl down here and take a look at those. So you can see one popping out right here. I still need to go and put the grommets in them. And the rubber lines are in too. Let's take a look underneath here, see if we can see my handiwork here. So there you go. So this is the driver's side front. The middle one here, it goes all the way to the back of the bus. You can see it running along the chassis right there on the side of the belly pan. And then there is the other one for the front right side of the car. You can see it running all the way along there. So yeah, I got those formed all out. They look pretty nice, and on their little clamps to hold them in and so on. So let's take a quick peek at the back. So likewise, I installed the rear hard brake lines. So right here you can see the brake line that comes from the front of the bus, goes into the T right there. And then you've got a little short one here that goes for the, if I can show this better here, for the driver's side rear brake. Yeah, right there, it's got a little loop in it, kind of. And then similarly, the passenger side one kind of goes up and over where the nose cone mount of the transmission is, and then ends here at the brake line. So yeah, I got those installed. And then continuing at the back of the bus here, went ahead and installed the engine seal here. I actually started installing it on the valence, which covers the back of the bus from left to right here. Didn't quite finish that. I'll finish that up in the morning. But yeah, all those things that are easiest to do when there's no motor or well, obviously you can't do it when there's a motor in, but even easier when there's no transmission or nothing really in the way back here. It's really a good time to go ahead and install all these seals. You have pretty free access to underneath of them and everything. So those are really the main things that we did today. Pretty productive day here, keeping these projects moving forward. So yeah, that's it for today. We'll see you guys again soon. Bye.